We see
Unmute
it.
and let me know. Everybody good? Anybody not good? Anybody not good? Okay, so I'm going to go through this. You all will receive this. It's a fairly large file, so we need to get it down in size, but we'll make sure you get all this. I'm not going to read through every slide. A lot of this is going to cover communication skills, things that you might have learned in different management classes or even college classes, but we want to touch on them again just as a reminder. So this, you'll also have access to this to go over for your own personal use, and maybe some of them you might want to use in your circles. So we really started this to add value to FPSA. That's all I'm going to say about that. And it definitely is proven so with the number of responses we had, as Diane indicated. And the purpose is, just like we said, just to let people have an outlet outside of their own little, outside of their company. So it is in the industry, you might be with people in different roles, and really a very safe place to go outside to either learn or grow or provide guidance. Today, we're going to go over what our goals are for this program, what your role is. We're going to talk about what makes a good mentor, some skills that you can draw on. Just again, a lot of them are reminders, a lot of them are common sense, but just reminders. And then we'll also help you get started on your first meeting, what you need to do. We have a draft agenda for you, so we're trying to make it as easy for you as possible. So as a mentor is a coach. You're coaching, you're not advising. So that is as simple as it gets. The mentor circles for FPSA are working virtually, obviously, and we would have done this no matter what, because we're all spread out across the country. And this, I'm not going to read through again. You can just read through what a mentor circle is. Again, it's pretty obvious. And here, how to mentor a group. This is where it can get into just a little bit. You're going to have to do where your role comes in. You need to be able to help them facilitate conversation, make sure that everybody has a chance to give their input. You know, if you have a chatty Cathy in your group, then you're going to have to learn how to manage them. And that's true even in face-to-face groups. This is going to be self-directed from your group. The mentees are going to be asked to provide and lead a session. So it's not going to be all on you to do all of the leading. So you will be coaching them in leading and then helping them through that process. And then our groups, we're going to keep it around 6 to 10 mentees. We don't want to get it too small or too big. We're asking you to meet once a month for at least 6 months, because the first one is just going to be organizing. So at least 6 months. If you have a really dynamic group, you may want to go longer. If you have a larger group, you may want to go longer so everybody has a chance to lead. And I will let you read that, what mentors offer. And our goals just are to connect and provide growth. And this has become much more needed since March. You know, people are so isolated now for some people. And I know some young professionals that are working from home for their first job, and it can be very, very hard not to have that face-to-face interaction. Again, this is about the mentee. I will let you read that at your leisure. And this one, the support network, this is a peer mentor group. So if you want to look at the top left-hand corner of this one, that's who we are here. And you're that empathetic ear. You provide career support, practical solutions, and possibly resources. You're not there to train or hold them accountable. You're not there to provide conflict resolution. So you look at that top left, that's where we see our groups falling into this grid. And here's going to be a little interaction. So after we read through this, feel free to unmute yourself. So what makes a good mentor? I want you to think about somebody who has been a mentor to you. And that person, what qualities or skills made them an effective mentor, even if it wasn't in an official basis? Or why was their approach effective? And think about anything that they did, whether it was their words, their listening skills, their tone of voices, their responses, that made them good or effective to you. So just feel free to raise your hand, unmute. We'll play this by ear as we go through this. If you have a thought of a mentee experience that you have had.
I think responsiveness is a big, I don't know if it'd be a quality or a skill to have. I remember when I was a mentee, I could always text or call my mentor and they would respond within, worst case, an hour, because you definitely don't want to be that person that, takes a couple days to respond. So it shows that they do genuinely care about you and you're in their corner, whatever you need them for.
Good. Thank you. Any other thoughts?
Mary, this is Darren. I thought, when I think back to the people that I've learned from a lot, either in a formal mentee situation or not, maybe an informal, I think of someone who has listened well, and maybe even digested and regurgitated back from a different perspective. So they help me see perspectives, see things in different ways and work through situations. But it always started with that ear and ability to listen well versus, just share their amazing wisdom.
Len, I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, like Darren, I definitely agree with that. Like empathy is a huge quality, that determines success in that kind of relationship. The ability to understand your mentee, understand where they're coming from, and then, like I said, regurgitate that maybe in a manner that they are more responsive to hearing and listening. Because sometimes they could hear the same message from a number of different people. And it's the exact same message, but it's always another person that can, give it to them in the way that they need to hear it. And that way they can digest it and use it. So, I guess personally in that kind of relationship, be like my sister, hears the same message from our parents and doesn't really do anything about that. But she just takes, an aunt or an uncle and exact same message, and she, completely, listens to it and acts upon it. It's like, wait, we just told you that, a year ago. So it's more about how you frame that message. And I think empathy goes a long way with that.
Good, thank you. Anybody
I
else?
think there's a unique part of these particular mentor circles that I just want to make sure we give a little thought to, which is almost all of us that have been in mentoring and mentee relationships, it's been within your company. And so you understand the context of what people are saying, you understand the context where they're working. And I think it's going to take even extra listening skills and kind of a stronger communication when you think about your circle of 6 to 8 people might all be working, will all be working for different companies, might be in different roles. And so I think that it's just an additional challenge that I wanted us to just think about here for a moment. And so it will really challenge your listening skills and your ability to understand the context.
True. And on the flip side, just having that outside, just like the aunts and uncles, you may make something pop for somebody that somebody in their company hasn't been able to. So the challenges will come with rewards as well. Any last thoughts? Okay, hold them if you come up with one, and we will continue to go through. So some things you need to think about are communication skills. Just a reminder, and we'll go through this, and I'm not going to read through this because I have slides for each one. So we're going to talk about different kinds of skills and different ways to communicate that will help make your circles more effective. And one is, it's called OARS. So that's going to help you remember open-ended questions, active listening, reflection, and summarize. So those are really 4 basic skills that will get you through any session very simply. So open-ended questions, it helps them be able to answer. Of course, and you all know this, you never ask a yes or no question because you're going to get what, yes or no. And how do you do that? Here's some examples. If you want to print this off and have it sitting by your computer for your sessions, how do you feel about that? What would you like to talk about? Tell me more. What have you tried in the past? What's working for you? How do you see things changing? So again, just very simple questions, just a reminder and just a little cheat sheet for you. Active listening. This is going to be the challenge on the Zoom because at the very best, you all are about an inch by an inch. You can't see facial expression, so it's all in your voice. So that's what you really need to work on is your voice. So just active listening and then also repeating. So I also call it drive-through talking. So if you aren't quite sure, just restate what somebody said and say, this is what you said, am I hearing you correctly? If it gets to that point that you really need to clarify something. Again, this reflective listening, again, same thing, you're just repeating what they say, you're repeating what you hear. And by you putting these skills out, hopefully your mentees will mirror them. So you're going to be teaching them good communication skills by the way you run and talk to the group. And that will be a very passive education, but it's something they'll pick up on. Summarizing is a really good tool to use, and I'll talk about it again in a minute, or I'll talk about it here. Number 2, that's bolded. It's useful if a mentee or the group gets off track. That's never going to happen, I promise. And you all probably should be laughing there on mute. Or if you need to transition between topics or at the end of the meeting. So if your group starts to go off into the weeds, this is where if you're taking notes or if you've got the agenda in front of you, go back, say, okay, this is where we were, folks, and then ask an open-ended question. I think that's probably going to be one of your biggest challenge is just keeping them on track when you've got a group and again, you have them virtually. So summarizing, I think, is a really good tool, and it's one I'm going to put to use more in my personal life as well. Nonverbal communication, again, online, it's going to be your tone of voice and the speed of your speech. And you're going to set the ground rules, and another one is you're going to ask your group to, shut the mail down, just, turn the volume down on their phones, and just pay attention for the 60 or 75 minutes that you're together. So I'm going to give you some homework. So during your conversations over the next couple of weeks, I want you to work on the OARS skills. Work on this with your people in your life, your kids, your siblings, your significant others, your coworkers. Just practice them so they become just a reminder and just something that you can do without really thinking. So ask those open-ended questions. Think about active listening, reflect, and summarize. So you're going to do this, and you're probably going to be getting an email from me asking how it's going. So you don't have to turn anything in, but you will get a reminder. And this, I think, will help you both for your mentor circle and in your business and personal life as well. And then after you do that, I want you to also think about it too. So you do it and then just stop and think, wow, they really got what I said, or wow, I got this meeting back on track by summarizing. So look at what works and look at what didn't. And for those of you, I think it was Len and whoever spoke before Len, you talked about both said empathy, and it's like I didn't cue you in, but you couldn't have like set it up better. So we're going to watch a little video by Brene Brown on empathy. She says it all here. So bear with me as I pull up YouTube and we get through probably a commercial. Oh, guess what I've been looking at?
So what is
Can you make it louder, Mary?
Very different than sympathy. Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, I'm down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now. I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
So that says about all I can and even better on empathy. So I'm not going to read through this. Again, you can when you get the slides. But empathy will help, without empathy, you can build up communication blocks. And you saw some of those mirrored there. You'll be fine, it's not a big deal. You don't really mean that. Why? You must be so excited, so don't assume. So again, make sure it's empathy and that you are just listening and saying, I understand. And so here's yet another little homework. So we're going to do this. Let's do this right now. Think about a time where you experienced a personal struggle. How did you feel physically? How did you feel emotionally? And what were your inner thoughts or self-talk like? And I'm not going to ask you to share this. If anybody really wants to, you can just raise your hand. But this is a personal. So if you get down deep into personal, again, these relationships are going to be a lot higher than that. But think about yourself. And then that will help you get into that empathetic feeling. This will also help you build trust. Everybody's coming in here, they don't know each other. So we're going to give you some things to do with maybe questions and icebreakers and small talk. That always helps build relationships and shared experiences. You can always share something personal about yourself that you're comfortable sharing. Again, take those shared experiences and highlight them. Again, show empathy and use humor when it's appropriate. And be patient. And that's why we're asking for at least 6 months, because it's going to take time for these groups to get to know each other and get to a point where they know and trust each other that real change is going to happen in their lives. Self-disclosure, again, it's that you do what you feel comfortable with. And again, this needs to be kept on a fairly business or not too personal level. We don't want to get you in those kind of situations. But a little bit of self-disclosure, especially struggles you've had at work, struggles you've had in career choices, things that are applicable to what your group is talking about will help them understand, and a lot of times help them realize that they're not alone if they're even afraid to share something that's happened to them. They may hear something you may not know that affects them, but it can make a huge difference in somebody's life. And this is an investment, and we know that you all are investing your time. And again, we can't say it enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So you are investing, and we're hoping that in 6 to 9 months, you all are re-signing up to do another group because it was such a wonderful experience. Some of your mentees are signing up to be mentors. So we're hoping this investment really reaps dividends. And with the response so far, I really think it will. And you've heard me enough. So Diane, I'm turning it over to you. So just say click when you want me to go through to the next one. And after this are your slides on setting up the meetings.
Okay. So we've kind of tried to make this action items and make it simple for what you need to get done or what you need to do as the mentor circle mentors and co-mentors or ambassadors. And you have to kind of think through who's going to do what. After this meeting, we are going to be sending the mentors and the ambassadors their assignments. So who have you been assigned to? And with that, there's the information that we sent you that will go out to them. The one-on-one meetings, that is for us to be talking with you. So after you have your first couple of meetings, if you need help from either Mary or I, we can have meetings, you can call us, you can text us, and we can have conversations about how things are going. So that's the one-on-one meetings. That is not meant for you to be doing one-on-one meetings with your mentees. That's not the expectation. The circle is, those are going to be our meetings every month. You set up the cadence that works best for you in terms of time and day of the week. But you do not need to do one-on-ones with your mentees. That's one-on-ones for us. And then the ongoing training, that is, if there's something that everybody is having trouble with, or there's something that everyone's having success with, we may do a quick Zoom call, we may share that. We're trying to find ways to continuously improve this because other than Mentium, the company that's out there that does mentoring one-on-one cross-company, I'm not too experienced with this model, and neither is Mary. So we're going to learn together, and we're going to improve together, and we'll keep doing training as we need to. And if you want one or either of us to join in one of your mentor circle sessions, just raise your hand and let us know. So if you could move to the next one, please, Mary. PowerPoint, I think, is coming next. Yep. So this is a PowerPoint that has about 4 slides, and it's really just meant to be like, how do you do it, and how might it go? So this is the first meeting agenda. We would suggest that, again, you're going to have your list of 6 to 10 folks that would be at your meeting. It's going to look just like this. You can decide how you want to do introductions. Again, I think that we tried to mirror today what it might look like, which is a brief bio overview. With only 6 people, you could go a little deeper than we had time for. A lot of people like an icebreaker of some kind of fun question, from everything from your favorite movie to your favorite vegetable, or whatever you'd like to use that you think would be a way for folks to connect. We did not talk about personal hobbies, interests, family, etc. today because we didn't have a lot of time, but you can decide kind of how you want to do these introductions. I would recommend in the hour of your first call, you don't spend more than about 15 minutes with these introductions, but you sort that through. And then I think the last question is, what do you want to get out of the mentoring circle? I always think a meeting when you're trying to both establish trust and set something up new, it's always great to start with the end in mind. So what would you like to get out of it? The next kind of item on the agenda is a ground rules development. And again, you can take this as a guideline, you can go further, but you will need to be talking about your schedule. When are you going to meet? Is it going to be an hour? Do you want it to be 55 minutes? Do you want it to be an hour and 5? Whatever works for that group, but you have to choose a day and time. Our recommendation would be that it is the same day and time every single month. Otherwise, people forget when it is. Attendance requirements, there is a backup document that will give you that kind of goes into deeper, but I think people have to commit to trying to be at each meeting, and if they're not going to be at the meeting, to let you know they're not going to be there. So again, it's just like a class that has mandatory attendance. So but again, you can define that. If you are going to let people not show up, then what are the requirements to the team? And then confidentiality and personal respect. There's a whole section in what we handed out about confidentiality. But again, I think that talking through ground rules, talking through those elements are important to start off a mentor circle. The next area would be role assignment. For every meeting, there should be a discussion leader. Obviously, the discussion leader for the first meeting is going to be the mentor. And then as you think about ongoing meetings, it would be whoever has chosen that topic. And so the discussion leader, that's a role that needs to be filled. Scribe timekeeper is the other role that needs to be filled. And again, my recommendation is keeping some kind of notes about what you talked about, not who said what, but just here was the topic, here were the attendees, here's some takeaways, here's something that we might want to dig into more deeply. So those are the two roles. I'm going to go into the future topics and discussion. It was in the handout that we sent you, but I just put it into this so that you can look at it again. And that really should happen at the first meeting, which is talking about those topics, figuring out where the interest of the group is, and selecting 6 or 7 for your future meetings for discussion topics, and then who has a lot of passion and wants to help lead that. The last 2 items are always close the meeting with an agreement on the next meeting date and what time. And then I'm going to go to the last one, which is a mentor circle evaluation. Darren, you and I used to call this a process check. Please go to the next page, Mary. We used to call it a process check, but essentially, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So here's a standard agenda for a mentor circle after you've chosen your topics. Again, it's the attendance and the topic review, the topic, and then reviewing the next meeting, and then the mentor circle evaluation. Next page, please, Mary. Here in very small print, if you can't read it, came out of the handout we sent you. These are suggested topics that other mentor circles have used and have found to be topics that many people would like to spend more time discussing and talking about how they might improve those skills. If there's one that someone has as a burning issue that is not on this list, feel free. These are your meetings. This was just to get you started. And again, I would choose 6 or 7. And you can multi-vote. You can do whatever you want to do as a team to figure out which ones and in what order you want to approach these. And then you have your agenda for the 6 months. You've got, okay, February's or September will be this, October will be this, November will be this, and this is who's going to lead it. So it really allows you to have structure to your planning. Next page, please, Mary. And this is what I was talking about because I thought it was the next slide. But this is the thought that you take 5 minutes at the end of every meeting and you rank from 1 to 5. And so it's very simple how that meeting was for you and what you need to improve. So there are only 3 areas that we put down here to keep it very simple. The first is ground rule compliance. Did you start and end in time? Did people show up, etc.? If anybody scores a 3 or lower, then they need to recommend what they would do to improve it. So you had ground rule compliance, did we start on time? Yep, 5. No, we didn't. Okay, why not? What's going on? How do we make that better? Content is the second one. And again, did we stay on topic? Was the content meaningful? Was it a good use of time? People are going to be 3s to 5s generally, but if somebody is really not feeling like the content was meaningful, then let them speak about what would they do differently, what was the issue, how do you improve that? And I think that, again, the circle learns together that way, and we can all learn. The last one is engagement, and it's did everyone speak and participate? But more than that, it's did I provide useful insights to others? Did I gain something from it? Was I engaged? And again, it's a little bit more personal, but there are people that might not say anything, and let's hope they say, all right, it's a 2. Why is it a 2? I was distracted. The way I can be more engaged is I can turn off my phone so I'm not looking at my phone, that I can be fully engaged. It is so hard in this context of Zoom to stay engaged. I know personally, I have a lot of difficulty during conference calls like this, staying focused. It's much better when you can be in a room and you're one-on-one. So if engagement scores are low, you can talk as a team about how do we improve these engagement scores? What's going on? Why, what can we do, because it's a difficult medium. So that's the thought, and you can either maintain these scores or you can just take them at the end of every circle meeting, and as long as you're 4 or 5, you're saying, okay, fine, I think we're doing pretty well, let's move forward. We have used them in the past in my life, that you track them and it's part of the meeting notes, and so you watch your scores improve as you work together. It's really up to you if you want to be that rigid. This is not meant to be a classroom. It's really meant to be your circle and the team circle. But I do think that this evaluation gets people talking, gets people thinking, and really helps both you as the mentor as well as the mentees engage and understand what do you need to do together with joint ownership to make this more powerful. I think that's the last page, isn't it, Mary?
Yep. So a couple things that made me think, and we're going to have questions here in a second. I'm going to go backwards. So when we say you're going to assign somebody to be a scribe and timekeeper, they don't have to take full notes from the circle. So it's not like you're taking minutes. You're just going to have somebody to jot down anything that, if it seems like the group might want to remember it, if it's a new topic brought up, or if it looks like somebody might be, needing more help, just to make a note of that for you, the mentor. Same thing, and so that scribe can also then be the timekeeper. And if it looks like you're just not getting things done, they can just do I'm not sure how we're going to do it on Zoom. If you're in a room, you kind of raise your hand in, 5 minutes. So you need to figure out how just to make sure you're going to wrap up on time. Backing up, and it made me think when you were talking, Len, about your experience as a mentee, that your mentor was very quick at getting back to you. It is not our expectations, as Diane said, that you do one-on-one with these. So please, we're not expecting the mentees to be texting you, for you to giving out, for you to be engaged with these 6 to 10 people. That would be asking way too much. If it looks like you have somebody who needs, more guidance than you can give, then, that's where you come to Diane and I and say, well, this person really seems very needy. Well, then maybe we counsel them to go to somebody at their school or workplace or whatever to find a more one-on-one mentor a situation for them. So again, we're not expecting you to have that ongoing relationship and be there for them. That being said, is like if questions come up throughout the month, maybe something we need to think, and I'm kind of saying, Diane, this is for us, it's like I hadn't thought about it, is so the group may have situations that they need some help with in those 4 weeks. How are we going to try to address that? And if so, how? That is an open-ended question to all of you. So think about that. As you start building your circle and as you start operating it. Is it something we need to think about for the group?
We did, let me just add something, Mary, to what you're saying. We did try to group the students by geographic location and by school. So if, my computer's falling down. If we have a group of Purdue students and a group of Northwestern students, et cetera, that are relatively close to one another, we tried to do that for your convenience for time zone, but also that they have one another. So if there is a topic that is raging or there's something that people want to chat through, we tried to group them in that way. So that's Elena's job, but that's the guidance that she was working against. And for the professionals circles, they're from everywhere, all time zones. So it will make it a little harder to find the time that's going to work for everyone, but we did try to group the students.
Okay.
Anything else, Mary?
But I hear questions. So do you have questions?
I don't have a question, but this is Elena. Just for the group to know, if anyone needs a go-to meeting room where they can meet with their group and they don't have, because they don't have a Zoom account or they don't have a paid account, just go ahead and feel free to email me, FSBA, and we'll get you a dedicated room that you can use for your group.
Good.
Excellent. Thank you for that detail.
So you did in the this week, I think Thursday they went out, you got the mentor guidelines. So if you didn't have a chance to read through that Word document, please do, especially about the ground rules. And some of this you will be sharing with your group as well. And the outline gives you an idea of what you need to do. So when you contact your mentees, and you'll be getting, the groups will be sent out today, Elena, to the mentors, you said?
Yes, correct. Everybody should be getting it today.
Okay. So you'll need to contact them and ask them for their top 5 topic ideas. You give them, and it's all there in the Word document. So make sure you go through that we worked really hard, and we mirrored this after some proven programs. So we feel pretty good that this guideline and outline will help you and should help things start a little smoothly.
Mary, I want to clarify, we're not asking them to call them. We're asking them to have them look at those topics and be prepared to choose their top 5 or 6 in the first meeting, correct?
Right. So what the mentors, what you will need to do is when you get your group, you'll need to email them, and you'll need to set the first meeting. And the only way to do it is to do it. I suppose if you wanted to do a doodle poll, you could. But you're going to have to set your first meeting and tell them what to expect. So they're going to get this list of topics so they can look at it before your first meeting and come up with their top 5 or 6. And this is not a call, this is an email. So there will be email communication you will have with your group every month as you set up the Zoom or whatever format you use for online, and then reminding them that it's coming up, and then also working with the leader for the month if they need that assistance. And I would suggest, just at least touching base with them before they lead and make sure they're prepared. So that is going to be what you're, other than your 1 hour when you're sitting with the group, that will be what you'll do on a one-on-one basis, is with the leader specifically on the topic, not on mentoring them, but more guiding them and making sure they have everything they're ready to lead that session effectively. And again, that's where if you need our help, please let us know. So you'll need to think about how soon you want to start this and what kind of rhythm is going to work for you personally, professionally, to get started, and then set it once you meet as a group, what day of the week works best for everybody, and there's going to be no perfect answer. Any questions?
Mary, I may have missed this, I apologize, but are we going to get this deck?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Everything you see, you get.
Yep.